Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Pavel Dems. We have some difficulties in the beginning, but we are live now. We'll see soon Connie and Victoria, who will be our host today. I hope you can hear me and see the presentation. If you do can see me, just write on the chat, hi, that you're here. I can see that you're with us. You can see the chat on the bottom of the screen. Hi Kuba, hi Sandra. So as you can see, my name is Pavel Dems, and I'm the founder of this project. This is called Mind, Body, Spirit, and it was only a Polish project. It began at 2016, and now it will be international project. We have made about 60 different webinars with about 45 different experts of holistic health and techniques and different methods about connection with our mind, body, and spirit. And we are seeing the source of our diseases in our emotions, in our subconscious mind, in our relationships with our families, and of course with our nutrition. I'm the only the host in the Polish part of this project, but in this project I have a big help with Victoria, who will be our host today. She's an artist and a spiritual person who is very inspired by Connie Kaplan, who is our guest today. So Victoria, if you are here with us, I will welcome you.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi. And I will tell also a few words about how the webinar will be today. On the beginning, those people who are with us on Zoom, you must click this information just above chat to send the questions to all panelists and attendees. Then your all typings will be seen by everybody. That's necessary to see. And we have also a podcast which has only 3 episodes, but one with Connie Kaplan and one with Victoria. So if you want to meet us closer, you can listen to those 2 episodes. And tonight we have a meeting that will last about 2 hours. I think about 90 minutes, at least 2 hours. The main part will be the speech of Connie Kaplan about the spiritual practice, which is dreaming. And after that, it will be part of questions and answers with Connie Kaplan and the contest. On the contest, you can win an audiobook and a digital book, Dreaming as a Spiritual Practice, and a few more presents for all of you. So stay with us to the end of the webinar. And now I'm leaving you with Victoria and soon with Connie.
Thank you, Pavel. I am very excited to be here today at my first webinar. As Pavel said, I'm an artist, I am an English teacher, and I am very passionate about the subject of feminine energy and how it all connects with the moon and how women can use this tool to transform their everyday life. I'm also very passionate about the topic of dreaming, and that will be the topic of our webinar today. To be more exact, dreaming as a spiritual practice, which basically means that we all have the ability to create our reality each night that we go to sleep. And how we can use this tool, that we will learn today from our guest, Connie Kaplan, who is the author of many beautiful books, Dreaming as a Spiritual Practice, The Invisible Garment, Dream Circle Leadership, and many more. She leads dream circles. She helps people all over the world connect their dreams. And I'm very happy she chose to come to this webinar for us today. Hello, Connie.
Oh, I want to thank you both for inviting me. I mean, I don't know if you can even imagine what it feels like to be called from Poland, you know, to say, oh, we like your work. Will you talk to us? Yeah, I will. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to the whole world, because I'm very excited to be sharing this information about dreaming that was more or less downloaded into my consciousness a few years ago, many years ago, a few decades ago. So what I'm going to do now, are we ready for me to just start talking?
Yes, we're ready.
Yes, okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to first tell you a little bit about the story of the way this dreaming work was introduced to me. I'm going to ask you to put aside what you think you already know about dreaming just for this hour. I'll give you a kind of new definition, I think, for dreaming. And I'm going to ask you to join with me in considering the dreaming from that perspective. I'm going to talk to you about dreaming as a spiritual practice, as opposed to how many of us think of it as a psychological event for ourselves. I'll talk to you about how the moon influences your dreams. I'll talk to you about learning to track your dreams according to lunar influences. I'm going to talk to you about the 13 different types of dreams that we have under certain lunar circumstances. I'll talk to you a little bit about dream circles and their power and their importance. And I'm going to end by giving you some advice, maybe inspirational advice, I hope, about how to live the dream, how to live as a dreamer, how to allow dreaming to be the practice that guides you in your everyday life. And then we'll have plenty of time for questions. So as we move through what I'm going to say, if a question comes up, go ahead and type it into the chat box. And at the end, Victoria will read me the questions because I can't see them. And we'll get to as many of your questions as we possibly can. So first, the story. I was working in the television industry. I was living in the fast lane. I was working really, really, really long hours, as was my husband. And we live in Los Angeles, California. And so this is kind of the heart of certain parts of the television industry. And so we were very, very busy. And I woke up sick one morning. And I didn't take it very seriously. I went to work anyway. And by noon, I was completely incapacitated. So I assumed that it was just the flu or something, you know, that would last a week and I would be back to normal. I got somebody to fill in for me. I went home and I started this downward spiral. It was like a mental, we wouldn't call it a breakdown because it wasn't, you know, like I was crazy. It was just my brain stopped remembering a lot of stuff that you're supposed to remember. Like I couldn't remember what you were supposed to do to get a telephone to stop ringing. Or I couldn't remember what a doorbell meant. Those kinds of things. So that was part of the downward spiral that I went on. There was no pain. There were no other real symptoms other than brain loss or synapse loss or something, and just this insatiable desire and ability to sleep. So I was sleeping for like 15, 18 hours a day. Many, many doctors, many, many tests, many, many trial drug, you know, therapies. They couldn't diagnose anything. Nobody could figure out what was wrong with me. But there was a long list of things that weren't wrong with me. And, you know, among those were all of the things that kill you. So my doctor finally said to my husband, I don't know what's wrong with her, but it doesn't seem to be killing her. So let's just let her sleep. So I slept for about almost 2 years. I slept somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 18 hours a day. And so, as you can imagine, I dreamt quite a bit. And when I was awake for those few hours a day, I would try to write down little snippets of these dreams. I didn't have time to write down, I mean, when you're asleep 18 hours a day and you're only awake 6, you don't have time to write down everything that you saw in the dream, but I wrote down enough. And so then a few years later, I'm going to say it was about 3 years later, I finally was, my brain was operating again. And I started reading my journals, my dream journals. And I realized that many of the dreams were repetitive. I had the same dream, or a very, very similar dream, over and over and over during that time that I was asleep. I thought, well, that's interesting. So here's an example. One of them was a woman who gathered up a group of women. She would take us into this cave. The cave was surrounded by crystals, but on the wall of the cave, there were drawings. And so she would have us duplicate the drawings. And if we duplicated them well, she would let us take a nap in the dream. So it was like a real treat to get to take a nap while you were asleep. And when we were going to sleep, she would point out the mouth of the cave and there would be the full moon. So this happened, I read this again and again and again in my journal. And so I got a lunar calendar and I looked, and it turned out that I had this dream, or the way I like to say it is, this dreaming teacher showed up on the full moon every month for 13 straight months during that period that I was ill. And then I started checking the lunar information of some of the other recurring dreams. And in each of the recurring dreams, there was a teacher, and I was learning something from that teacher. And in each of the recurring dreams, they showed up at a very specific time under very specific lunar circumstance. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So I gathered my friends around and we started tracking our dreams according to the location of the moon, the phase of the moon, and eventually comparing that to our natal astrological chart. And we discovered some just incredible patterns, dreaming patterns that we were having. Now, I'm sure that there are many indigenous societies that already know this, so if I were telling this information to, some of the African indigenous societies, they would say, yeah. But in Western culture, that kind of relationship to the cycles of the moon has been all but eliminated. So for us, it was really quite magnificent, to start looking at, I had that dream when the moon was in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is my sun sign, the sign where the sun was when I was born. And look, all of the dreams that I have when the moon is in Sagittarius every month have these similar characteristics. So that was the beginning of realizing that I had been given some vital information about dreaming. I looked around for a real life waking dream teacher to help me understand the information a little bit more. And for the most part, I didn't find it because we're very determined, addicted to believing that dreams are psychological events rather than astrological events. So that's basically the story of how this whole thing started. So what I want to do right now is introduce a new definition for dreaming. This is something else that was downloaded during that time. I want you to consider the dream as a slightly different thing. I'm sorry, my dog is kind of wiggling around here. I want you to consider the dream to be this. When you lie down to go to sleep, first of all, you are on the horizontal plane. Now, you spend your whole day on the vertical plane. Now you're on the horizontal plane. And so you are metaphorically, part of the skin of Mother Earth, part of the crust of the earth. And just as the moon pulls on her tides and on her cycles, when you're lying down, the moon connects with you as a part of her. Now, your body, your physical body, your biological body starts a process that is regenerative in nature. It needs sleep in order to regenerate itself. Your spiritual body or your consciousness also needs to be regenerated. And so it begins a journey on these fibers, these filaments of conscious energy that connect you to the great web of life. Your consciousness starts on that journey, and that journey, if it gets all the way there, takes you all the way back to the soul. But on that journey, your consciousness encounters everything that is, everything that resides in possibility, in potential. It goes into what we call the void, the great dream weave, the place where everything that might be manifested is kind of stewing in this pot of divine potential. So you travel out there and you encounter other beings, other levels of consciousness, other dimensions, all kinds of otherness that doesn't feel like other, because it's not really, we're all actually connected. So basically these great portals of possibility and potential open, and you move through those portals. Now, on your way back into waking reality, just as the physical body awakens refreshed, the consciousness body wants to also remember that it has been recharged, that it is refreshed. And so your mental body writes a story that is a metaphor for the experience that you just had in the divine realm of all possibility. I call it the dimension of truth. When you've moved into the void, into that place where you can encounter energies, facts, situations, possibilities that are not local to you. So you write this story, and to write this story, your mind has to use what it knows. So it uses its own personal lexicon of images, ideas, thoughts, faces, people, relationships. It writes a story. The story is what we call the dream. But in fact, that encounter that you had in consciousness is the dream. So that's what I want you to try to wrap your head around while we talk about dreaming for this next few minutes. When I hear someone's dream, I don't think, okay, what do these images mean? What does this mean to her? What does this mean to him? What are the psychological problems that this person has that they're trying to dream through? I don't ask any of those questions. This is the question I ask. What did this dreamer experience in the void that inspired her to write this story? What is out there in divine potential that's trying to express itself through this story? So now I'm going to talk about the lunar influence of dreams for a little bit, and then I'll explain why in a few minutes. When you are asleep and the moon is pulling on your consciousness, it's going to send you into certain directions. It's as if when you go to sleep, the center part of your body, all around your navel and your womb, open up, and these fibers connect, to the heavens, to the moon, to the energies of potential. And the moon will pull you in certain directions on certain nights. It's different for everybody. So I can't send you a dictionary and say, when you have a dream when the moon is in Scorpio, that means da 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 da. Dream dictionaries do not apply to this spiritual work that we do with the dreaming. You have to do that work yourself. And that's part of the challenge of this particular practice that I teach. It demands that you do the work yourself. You have to find out where the moon sends you on certain nights. So the first thing that I would encourage you to do, if you're interested in using dreaming as your primary spiritual practice, is get a dream journal and start writing down your dreams. And on those days also write down the lunar information. And you do that by simply purchasing a lunar calendar, and it will tell you, where the moon is, what phase it's in, and what other planets it is aspecting. So after you've kept a journal for a while and you've got a bunch of the lunar information in, and I kind of recommend keeping it on the internet, on your computer, so that you can use a search engine. Because after you've, got a few months of dreams written down in your calendar, you can search all the dreams that have a full moon, all the dreams you had on a full moon. And you can start to look at how the dreams are similar based on certain lunar conditions. This is an incredibly important piece of using dreaming as your spiritual practice, because it is vital that you understand what your own dreaming patterns are, what your own dreaming cycles are. I'll explain more about that in just a few minutes. But first I want to say there are a few days every month that you really, really, really want to chart and look at. One is every month, the moon, as it orbits around the earth, moves through the entire zodiac. It goes through every one of the 12 constellations in the zodiac. One day or 2 days a month, it's going to be in the very same constellation it was in on the day that you were born. Those are very powerful dreaming days for you, because they are days that tend to reconnect you to the soul, to reconnect you to the purpose of your incarnation. Those are very important days. I was born on a full moon, for example. So those full moon dreams of Crystal Cave Woman were particularly important to me. I didn't realize it at the time, but I do now. And I do pay very close attention to all of my full moon dreams. Well, okay, wait, I got confused there. That is when the moon goes through the same phase that it was in on the day you were born, right? It does that once a month too. So that's another power day. So when the moon is in the sign that it was in on the day you were born, and when the moon is in the phase that it was in on the day that you were born, those are two very important power day dreams. But only you can know what those dreams, how they fit into your dreaming pattern. In other words, some people have dreams, that tell them more about their own life purpose on those days, but some people have dreams that are prophetic in nature. They'll prophesy earthquakes or famine or, those kind of dreams. Some people have telepathic dreams where they pick up information that's about something that's happening in some other part of the world that they couldn't possibly know about. Whatever it is, you will find eventually that those are power day dreams, and those are important dreams. Now, once a year, sometime right around your birthday, within maybe 2 weeks of your birthday, the moon is in the exact same sign, in the exact same phase that it was in the day you were born, on the same day. So that's what we call your big power day dream. So you definitely want to look at those dreams, because they are extremely important. They are filled with important information. Sometimes it's information for you. Sometimes it's information for someone else, and sometimes it's information for the whole world. Now, why is that important? It's important for you to know that you are a dreamer. You are a person who moves into the not yet, into the void, into the future, and you bring information back into waking reality that is important. It's not like you have to have a blog and tell everybody in the world what your dream was, because the fact that your consciousness interfaced with that possibility already gives weight, gives an anchoring to that possibility. But it is very important for you to know that about yourself, to know how powerful you are in terms of dreaming the world into a new space, into a new place. Part of what is going wacko about the world right now is that too many of us think that our dreams are about us. And so we're not understanding the breadth and depth and interconnectedness of all of us. So start doing that. Start looking at what the patterns are. You may have, let's say you have nightmares sometimes. You may start to notice that your nightmares come on a very specific lunar influence. That may tell you that these nightmares aren't about you at all. These nightmares are something about the collective consciousness that happens under a full moon or under certain lunar circumstances. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm telling you what most people don't want to hear, which is that your dreams are not always about you. Most people don't like hearing that. But you're bigger than you think you are. You are more magnificent than you think you are. And you have access to a much broader lexicon of information than you think you do. So one more thing about lunar influence before we move on to talking about the types of dreams that we have. And that is, if you are a woman who is still menstruating, then another thing you want to do is start to look at what kinds of dreams you have on certain nights of the month based on your menstrual cycle. So in the book, Dreaming as a Spiritual Practice, there's a way to chart dreams so that you can start looking at how your menstrual cycle affects the dreams that you're having on given nights. I'm going to hold this up, and since I can't see anything, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a sample of the chart that I recommend that you start keeping. So basically, in this chart, I'm going to hold it up and just hope that you can see it. The top of the chart is the first day of your menstrual cycle. And then you divide the chart into however many days that you had that month. So you do this retrospectively. You do it at the end of the month. So in this chart, I had 29 days in that particular cycle. So I divided it up and I put the date and the day of the number of the day of my menstrual cycle and the date right above it. And then in these little pie pieces, I put just a short little note about what the dream was that I pull from my journal. Now, here's what's important about that. So what I learned, one of the things that I learned by doing my charting that way was periodically I would have violent dreams, and they were usually sexual violent dreams, dreams of rape or dreams of being sexually molested or something. And I would wake up from those dreams just feeling horrible and awful and yucky, and with really deep questions about it, because I am one of the few fortunate people in the world, women in the world, who I've never been attacked violently, sexually, or at all. I haven't ever had violence perpetrated on my body. So I couldn't figure out why I was writing stories about sexual violence in my dream, to represent a dream experience that I had had. Well, when I started charting it according to my menstrual cycle, I discovered that all of those violent dreams, all of them, every one of them for like 2 or 3 years, came on a day when I was ovulating. So my ovaries were exploding. There was violence going on down there, close to the womb, which is the dreaming organ. There was, this explosive thing going on in my body. And somehow on those days, I was directed toward a deeper understanding of human violence, human on human violence in the dream time. Do you see what I mean? So that dream wasn't about me at all. It was about, or those dreams, all of those violent dreams, they weren't about me, but they were about the dreamer's ability to be in touch with the human condition in a way that she was not going to experience in waking reality. Okay, I hope that made sense for you, and I hope that you will start keeping a dream journal and start putting the lunar influences there and start looking for your dream patterns. And here's why. During this period, as we were looking at our dreams, tracking our dreams, understanding the lunar influences of our dreams, we also realized that there are different types of dreams that we have. Now, this was also taught to me by these dream teachers, but at the time, I wasn't capable of fully understanding what these dream teachers were saying to me. They were showing me things in the dream, but I didn't understand what they were saying to me until I spent a few years charting the dreams and understanding my patterns. So under specific lunar circumstances, you will most likely experience different types of dreams. There are 13 different types of dreams, and those 13 types of dreams are divided into 4 sort of dream stages. So the first stage we call personal dreams. So yes, there are nights when you will be too tired to really make, for your consciousness to really make a big dream journey. And so you will have what we call mundane dreams. Those are the dreams where you're just reworking the events of the day because you don't have the energy to send consciousness out on a big journey. So mundane dreams happen sometimes. A second type of personal dream is the psychological dream. These are dreams where, yes, the dream is giving you some kind of information about something that you need to tend to in your own psyche. Because if you are living in a psychological small space based on lies that you've interwoven into your belief system or based on determination to keep your personal history alive in spite of, all things to the contrary. If you're living in a very psychologically damaged space, the dreams will try to say to you, hey, you need to get beyond this because otherwise you're wasting your power as a dreamer. So yes, there will sometimes be psychological dreams. A third type of personal dream is called lucid dreaming. And that's a kind of dream where you're really being tested, actually. A lucid dream is a dream where you wake up in the dream and you know that you're dreaming, but you're still asleep. Now, some people call that just the best thing ever, that means you're like spiritually superior. It's not really that. It's that if you wake up in a dream, you need to learn to have the humility to still allow the dream to unfold. In other words, if you wake up in a dream and you start trying to control the dream, you start trying to say, okay, now I want to fly, or now I'm going to be, superhuman or whatever. You start trying to control the dream, you're just introducing your own waking reality littleness, into the void. So lucid dreams are great, but they're only great if you use them as a way of understanding, yes, I am a dreamer, and yes, I can be in such faith with the dream that I can watch it unfold without needing to introduce my own control issues into the dream. All right, so those are the 3 personal dreams. The 3 collective dreams, telepathic dreams, are dreams that you have where you learn something that you can't, that exists. This something already exists. It's in reality somewhere. You can't possibly know about it. It's not local to you. You can't possibly know this piece of information that you've just picked up. But you find out a few days later, you know, that there it is. And sometimes it's something just absolutely silly, like you dream the word marigold, right? And then 3 days later, you have to go somewhere for a meeting and you look it up to find out what the address is, and it's on Marigold Street, you know, stuff like that. They don't mean anything, you know, big and super powerful, except they do mean that you have the ability to know things that are outside your typical realm of consciousness. Clairvoyant dreams are similar to telepathic dreams, but they are things that haven't happened yet, you know? So maybe you dream about somebody that you knew in college and you haven't seen that person or communicated with that person in like 10 years. And then within 36 hours of having that dream, you get an email from them or a snail mail from them or a phone call from them. Something, you know, you connect with something that is in the not quite yet phase. You can do that very often in dreaming. And then prophetic dreams are the dreams where you literally perceive something that is in the realm of probability, but it's further off into the future than a clairvoyant dream. You may not see a prophetic dream come true for you know, several months or several years even. And most of us are really, really unaware of ourselves as prophetic dreamers because we don't chart our dreams and keep up with them. So we don't sometimes remember that we dreamed that thing, you know, 2 years ago or whatever. So those are what we call the collective dreams: telepathic, clairvoyant, and prophetic. Then we have dreams that we call transformational dreams. You have healing dreams where you are either physically, physiologically, or psychologically healed within the dream space, and you wake up healed, or you participate in healing someone else and they are literally transformed as a result of a healing experience that you participated in the dream time. There are teaching dreams, which are, you know, all of the dreams that I had when I was in that 2-year sleeping period were pretty much teaching dreams. Teachers showed me things that I didn't know and that I couldn't even really understand at the time until I woke up and started working with them. But I was taught about dreaming and what dreaming is in the dream. You will have periodically, under certain lunar circumstances, which I can't tell you what they are, you have to figure them out yourself because you're a unique dreamer, but you will often have teaching dreams where teachers show up and say stuff to you that you didn't know. And then there are oracular dreams, and those are really interesting and really important. There's no story around an oracular dream. It's just you hear a voice and it says something. And sometimes it's nothing more than your name. You know, you just hear a voice call your name, and often that wakes you up. It's some sort of wake-up call, but it's a dream in which you have connected to sound. You've connected to in the beginning was the word energy that's out there in the dimension of truth. So when you just hear a voice in a dream, just know that that is an incredibly powerful experience that you got way out there on the dream wave, and that you had some kind of incredibly empowering and powerful experience. And then the last type of dreaming is, we call it philanthropic dreaming, because it's dreaming that is clearly about something else or someone else, totally about something that's not you. Ceremonial dreams. Sometimes you will have a dream in which you are either in ceremony or helping prepare for a ceremony. You may not know what the ceremony is. You may only know that your job is to put flowers on, pillows, or, you don't know exactly what the ceremony is, but you're participating in it. Ceremony is a very powerful sort of archetypal structure for the beginning of something that is ready to manifest. And so sometimes you will go and encounter other beings who are all participating together to help bring something new into the world. And that's all you need to know. I was there, I did my part. Now I'll watch and see what, manifests as a result of that ceremony. Shamanic dreaming is really interesting. Now, the shaman in indigenous cultures is the person who lives sort of at the edge of the village. And the shaman's job has to do with sort of negotiating the in here and the out there, the boundary between what happens inside and what happens outside. That's the shaman's job. So when you have a shamanic dream, it may be a dream in which you encounter someone who is not living any longer, where you've crossed over, to the other side of the veil to communicate with somebody, or they have pulled it together enough to cross back over to talk to you. Or shamanic dreaming you may find yourself, your consciousness is in the body of a bird, or the body of a cat, or so there can be all kinds of shape shifting in these shamanic dreams. And shamanic dreams are, the purpose of them is to remind us that there isn't separation. We see separation, we experience separation, we look at separation, but it's not as concrete as we believe it is. We have the ability to blend into other forms, to blend into other perspectives, to blend into other dimensions. That's what a shamanic dream teaches you and gives you. And then there are phenomenal dreams. Phenomenal dreams are rare, very rare. You hardly ever have phenomenal dreams, but sometimes you do. And those are dreams in which you dreamed something and then you wake up and something has actually changed in your world that corresponds to that dream. I had a dream, I had a phenomenal dream once that still drives me crazy to this day. I had lost my car keys on a trip. I wasn't even in Los Angeles when I lost them. I was on a trip. I was in a McDonald's in Needles, California, driving on my way to Santa Fe with my kids. And I lost my car keys. And we looked 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 and we couldn't find the car keys. We never could find the car keys. So I had to call a locksmith, and he had to come and make a key for me and whatever. And it drove me nuts for months, how I could have lost those car keys. Where did they go? Where did they go? One night in a dream, I was asleep and I saw my car keys floating through the air. And I reached up and grabbed for my car keys. And it jerked me awake. I woke up, I sat up, and my car keys were sitting on my bedside table. All I can say is, I don't know what that was, but every once in a while, you will have a dream in which the dream itself manifests in reality in that moment. All right, whatever. And then the last type of dreaming is what we call soul dreaming. And those are the dreams that you just don't remember at all. You went so far toward the soul that all you did is blend into your own beingness so thoroughly that there was no story to write, because there was no dynamic, there was no friction, there was no difference. Okay, So I'm about ready to close now, but I do want to tell you that in dreaming as a spiritual practice, one of the things that I highly recommend is that you form a dream circle, because it's important to share your dreams. If you don't share your dreams, you're probably going to keep interpreting them as me. This is all about me. This is about my psychology. This is about my reality. This is about what's broken about me, which is our, usual go-to interpretation of our dreams. What's wrong with me? Why am I so awful? But when you start sharing your dreams with each other in Dream Circle, it ceases to be my dream. When I take a dream to Dream Circle, I give the dream. In my dream circles, we don't even read our own dreams. We print them up and we put them all in a basket and we draw them, and we don't even read our own dreams, so that we take it out of the my dream and your dream scenario and put it into the dream. What is it that the dream weave is trying to tell us tonight? And it's in Dream Circle where you'll find out, oh, that was a telepathic dream. I actually dreamed somebody else's reality. Oh, that was a healing dream. I actually participated in helping someone else, heal something psychologically, spiritually, physically. So it's through sharing your dreams with other people that, first of all, you find out a deeper meaning of your dreams. And secondly, you learn to identify yourself as a dreamer. Identifying yourself as a dreamer is the true benefit and result of using dreaming as a spiritual practice, because the dreamer is the person who understands that nothing happens until it's dreamed. And when something is dreamed, it's the potential of the dreamer to bring that possibility back into form. You don't have to manifest your dreams. You don't have to, call a meeting and say, I dreamed this, and so we have to do it. What you have to do is know that if your consciousness connected to an idea on the dream weave, and then you woke up remembering that idea, then that idea has begun to crystallize into form. So one of my books is called Dreams Are Letters from the Soul. This is actually my favorite book that I wrote, but it's kind of hard to get because it's out of print. But I want to close this part of the webinar by talking to you about what it is to understand yourself as a dreamer. A dreamer understands that he or she lives backwards in time. Every night when you go to sleep and you let your consciousness fly out there, your consciousness goes to the not yet, to the great giant cosmic soup of human potential, or of all potential, of cosmic potential. You dive in to a soup in which everything that could possibly be manifested resides in unmanifested form, and you pick up on something and you bring it back. So I want to read to you from the last chapter of my book. I'm talking about a book that Deepak Chopra wrote years ago. I think it's the only novel he ever wrote, and it's called The Way of the Wizard. And he says in there, a wizard can turn fear into joy, frustration into fulfillment. A wizard can turn the time-bound into the timeless. A wizard can carry you beyond limitations and into the boundless. So when I read that sentence by Deepak Chopra, I said, transmute the word wizard into the dreamer. And you've got a great definition for who you are as a dreamer. The dreamer can turn fear into joy, frustration into fulfillment. A dreamer can turn the time-bound into timeless. A dreamer can carry you beyond limitations into the boundless. And then a little bit later, he says, Chopra says, a wizard does not believe himself to be a local event dreaming of a larger world. A wizard is a world dreaming of local events. And so once again, if we change the word wizard to dreamer, a dreamer does not believe himself to be a local event dreaming of a larger world. A dreamer is a world dreaming of local events. When you become a spiritual practitioner of the dream, you realize that you are dreaming the world into being. And it's not, I'm not talking about manifesting your little world space at all. I am talking about dreaming the paradigm, the dimensions, the perspectives. You're bringing those from potential into form. You're dreaming, and at the same time, you are being dreamed. You are going out into the dream weave and bringing ideas and possibilities back. But at the same time, the dream weave is dreaming you. I know, it's a little bit wild, but it's also highly liberating to understand that power that you have. So I'm going to stop here. And Victoria, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. I'm trying to soak it all in. And wow, that is so much more that I've learned, even though I thought I knew a lot. I want everyone now to write some questions that they have, and in the meantime, I have a couple of questions for you. I would like to ask, firstly, why do you feel a woman are why do you think so many women join the women's circles and the dream circles, and why do you feel women are in some way empowered to create their reality through dreams?
Women are generally more. I think it starts with the menstrual cycle. Women are generally more aware of the potential of life being embodied in the cycles of life. Women are more generally aware of the inner life and how it gets manifested and pictured in the outer life. Mostly, it's cultural, I think. You know, mostly men are trained by our cultures to be manifestors. Women are trained by our cultures to be a little more inward, a little bit more introspective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a really good answer, actually. So, but do you feel like if our culture had a different upbringing for men, they would also have these abilities?
I don't know.
Okay, I understand.
I don't know whether without the biological constant reminder of the cycles of life, whether you know, and I'm certainly not saying that men aren't dreamers, and I'm certainly not saying that men don't have the same kind of dreaming potential that women do. I'm simply saying that biologically, I think we're set up to be in a different kind of relationship with the dream weave.
I understand. Okay, my next question is, why do you think, because in my experience and the experience of my friends, sometimes we live in this waking reality and parts of our dreams just pop up into our mind without no specific reason. And also we have these feelings sometimes of deja vu, where we kind of remember our dream. Some people don't think deja vu is really connected to dreaming. What do you think about this topic?
About the deja vu?
Yes.
Topic? No, I actually do agree with what I think you're implying. I think that we perceive things prior to their happening, you know, and so we can actually, it's what I was kind of saying about telepathic dreaming or clairvoyant dreaming. When you go to sleep, and you know, I didn't say this earlier, but I should. You don't actually have to be asleep to enter the dream realms. Sometimes in quiet moments, you know, on a walk, when you're meditating, you know, just when you're in a quiet moment, your consciousness can grab an opportunity to run out for a you know, quick trip to the cosmic soup. And so yes, I think that deja vu is exactly that we experience something outside of time, and then we experience it inside of time, and it's kind of jolts us, you know, whoa, what was that? You know, that's a strange feeling. But I think it's when you start to live your life as a dreamer and understand that you are a dreamer, you're not shocked by anything anymore, because you're not surprised by anything anymore, because you learn to let yourself see it before it happens. Some people prefer to not know that about themselves. You know, I often have people who come to me and say, I want you to teach me to quit dreaming. I want you to not dream anymore, because my dreams come true so often, and that disturbs me. And that's because culturally we've been told to call that evil or witchy or whatever, you know. And so we're actually trained to not be as powerful as we are. It's scary. So that's one of the reasons I think that people don't want to admit that deja vu is part of the dreamer's power experience. It's expressing itself to her in that moment, or to him or to her, because we're not supposed to be that powerful.
So we kind of put on a label on it and don't really feel the power of it. I know, right. I know what you mean. Thank you. My next question is an example that you and maybe your dream circle have experienced together. I mean, a dream that was repetitive for you, and how that later influenced your reality.
Yeah, I think I shared this maybe when you and I had our interview earlier. The biggest example was in the summer of 2001, the summer of 2001, when a lot of us in my dream circle here locally in Los Angeles, and in the dream circles all around the country and the world that I knew of, a lot of us were reporting dreams in which we were trying to call 911, which I don't know if this is the case in Poland, but in America, 911 is what you dial for emergency assistance. And we were trying to call 911 and we couldn't get through. And it was for various reasons. Sometimes we didn't speak the same language as the person on the other end of the call. Sometimes we were put on hold. Sometimes nobody ever answered, or we just kept dialing the wrong number. So we spent the whole summer trying to figure out what all those 911 calls were, and we misinterpreted them by saying, oh, maybe we're not supposed to call for help anymore. Maybe we're supposed to be so powerful that we, you know, solve all of our own problems and whatever. And then on September 11th of that year, we all just kind of went, oh, wow, we were dreaming what was in the works. This was prophetic dreaming on a group level. We never would have known that if we hadn't been sharing our dreams with each other in our dream circles. And we may not have even, let's say, you know, I had several 911 dreams throughout that summer, but they were so frustrating. I just didn't even acknowledge them. I just let them go. When September 11th came, I may not have known. I may not have made the connection, right? But because there were hundreds of us dreaming this same dream, we made the connection, you know. So that's one of my little stump speeches for having your dream circle with you at all times, right?
Yes. And do you feel like, if, for example, you and your circle had the knowledge of what this meant, or even if it's possible that you could have had this knowledge, but let's say if you had, could you have changed the reality somehow in your dreams?
I think we did change it.
Okay.
I think it could have been a lot worse.
Oh yes, for sure.
No, I was not about to call the FBI and tell them that a whole bunch of women in California were dreaming, you know, that something bad was going to happen. That's not the goal of living the dream. But just knowing that the observer effect is real and it operates even in the dream. If you observe something, you change its result just by the fact that you are a biased observer. Even though you like to think that you can be an unbiased observer, you know, it's been proved that you can't. So by observing something, you have changed its effect. Another example that I share sometimes is that at one point, several of us were dreaming about being raped, and none of us had been raped in this lifetime. And so we were wildly curious about what that must have been. And eventually, after several conversations about this in Dream Circle, one night, one woman said, you know, when we're asleep, the women in Afghanistan are awake. So maybe it's possible that we're dreaming into the reality of someone who lives in that kind of potential violence at all times, and we're assisting her. Now, of course, we'll never know whether that's true or not, but what we do know is that when you dream something, you change it slightly because your own consciousness has encountered, this energy. So was it possible that we were taking a hit for somebody that just couldn't stand another night of violence in her own life? Maybe, right? Do you see what I mean? We live available for all of that to be true without needing concrete validation that it is.
Yes, I think we have this tendency that we need logical facts and logical proof sometimes, and sometimes all we need is trust. And one more question from me is, can we do something before we go to sleep to have, well, let's say, the best quality dreams that we can have? Can we do something on a physical level or a mental level?
Well, I'm sure that I know that there are lots of people who have lots of ideas about what you're supposed to do before you go to sleep. I haven't really been shown anything like that, in my own work. I think the best thing that you can do in order to be really engaged with your own dreaming powers is to take care of yourself, Don't get too tired. Don't eat badly, do exercise. Keep your body healthy, because if your body is not healthy, it's going to take up all of your dreaming energy, right? If when you go to sleep, your body is so tired or so overfed or underfed or underserved or overserved or whatever, your body will say, I get first priority here. Sleep is about me. It's about regenerating me. The rest of you can do whatever you want to do, right? So to have good dreaming power requires healthy living when you're awake.
Yes, from my experience, I have never had the same dreams when I was at a Vipassana retreat for 10 days where I was meditating, and didn't have any, I slept very well and I meditated, which is some way dreaming state. So I have never had so profound dreams also about turtles, and everything was connected. So taking care of your body for sure, and your mental health also.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so let's see the questions. And I also wanted to say, if there are Polish viewers who don't feel comfortable in English, I can translate and they can just ask in Polish. Okay. The first question is from Eva, and she asks, is there any chance that we can get instructions how to make this circle and what to be focused on? Where can we get this info about different types of dreams?
The best source for the different types of dreams is the book, Dreams Are Letters from the Soul. Now, Dreams Are Letters from the Soul is out of print. So the two ways to have it are through ordering it through digital, and it's on audio. So on my website, which I think you're putting that information up, right, Victoria?
Yes.
On my website, The Invisible Garment, if you go to the store, one of the books that's offered there is Dreams Are Letters from the Soul in either digital format or audio format. And I want to say, I think Victoria is mentioning this on the website too, but I want to say, if you use the word Gaia, Gaia, as the coupon code when you check out, if you order any of my books, you will get a 10% discount. So even audiobooks, even digital books. So that's the best source for learning more about the 13 types of dreams. The 13 types of dreams are mentioned briefly in the first book. Now, it's translated into Polish, and in Poland, it is entitled Dreaming as a Spiritual Practice. In America, it is entitled The Woman's Book of Dreams, with Dreaming as a Spiritual Practice as the subtitle. So the 13 types of dreams are mentioned briefly in there. Also, some basic information about running a dream circle is mentioned in there. But if you're really serious about running a dream circle, I have a little digital pamphlet-like book. I'm not sure how long it is. It's probably 30 or 40 pages. But it's called, I think it's called Dream Circle Leadership. And you can also order that either from the Invisible Garment website or from the Turtle Dreamers website, www.turtledreamers.com.
Yes, so at the end of the webinar, we will be speaking about a contest and some coupons also. We will also speak about that, and Connie's books, I think, are the best resource for this knowledge. And also, Anna asks, where is a dream circle that I could join? And well, I'm not sure if you can answer that, because it depends where a person is from.
Well, I have two answers from that. Yes, it depends on where you're from. I know that there are several dream circles being formed in Poland right now. So maybe you can respond to how that's happening. But I have a dream circle that I find to be just so fun and so fascinating. And you can join it through my website, www.turtledreamers.com. It's called the International Dream Circle. And it doesn't operate, it's not like you have to be at a certain place at a certain time. It's a dream circle where you join and you post your dreams through a video technology, and then people from all over the world will comment on that dream. And that, to me, is one of the most exciting things that's happening in dreaming reality right now. We are discovering that we have such similar dreams on every continent, often under the same lunar circumstances, which kind of surprised me. But that is a really fun and very powerful way of getting together with dreamers from around the world and hearing what they're dreaming, hearing what they have to say about what you're dreaming. So that is a possibility through Turtle Dreamers. Now, also, that's a subscription. That's a monthly payment subscription, because it requires, paying for the technology and everything. But there's a free dream space on turtledreamers.com too, where you just for free you can type your dreams in, and people will respond to them. That one's, for some reason, that one's not quite as lively as the international circle, but it's a good way to join a circle if you don't have one near you, and if you don't have the energy to create one yourself.
That's a beautiful idea, using modern technology to connect people, and not like social media today, which really disconnects people. I think this is a beautiful way of seeing how we are really connected through our dreams. Beautiful.
Right.
Okay. The next question is, have you ever met a person in a dream who is not alive in this waking reality, and how do you interpret that? From Dorota.
Well, I guess, do you mean like, do I ever come into contact with friends of mine who are no longer alive?
Yes, or family members.
Absolutely. I am aware that, obviously none of us knows exactly what happens on the other side of that veil, but I am aware that sometimes the personality of an incarnation kind of holds itself together energetically. And so that personality can kind of work really hard and concretize itself and, show up for you in the dream weave. And you recognize the personality enough to actually put that dreamer's or that person's face on your dream when you wake up and write the story. So yes, I have one friend, and in fact, if I can, I will take the time to tell you about this person. I'm going to read also again to you from the epilogue in my book, Dreams, Letters from the Soul. So I had this friend, and her name was Freya, and she was just, I'll just read this. She was the most beautiful, real, eccentric, wild, insane, and simultaneously sane person I had ever met. Freya was the one I called when I needed a total makeover, when it was time to redecorate, when it was time to play dress up, when I needed to laugh or cry. Freya always had the new perspective. She was always in the hippest place, whether it was in, the French Riviera or Los Angeles. She was a step ahead of Madonna in the lingerie as clothes fad. She's reported to have shown up at her 25th high school reunion in Toledo, Ohio, wearing a Merry Widow bra and a big full taffeta skirt and cowboy boots. She went to the American Music Awards wearing high heels and socks before Cyndi Lauper was even Cyndi Lauper. Freya was something else. And she was my best friend. And she was my nearest and dearest friend. And I was hers. And I knew that. And then she died. And I was sort of the officiant at her memorial. And so even though there were 200 or 300 people there, I thought it'd be a great idea to pass the microphone around and just let people say what they wanted to say about Freya, sort of like in a dream circle. Well, I would say 30 people said Freya was my best friend and I was her best friend. And I'm like, I'm her best friend. And I realized this was such a magical dreaming woman. She was so powerful that she was able to make hundreds of people feel deeply felt, deeply heard and seen and loved by her. So now she's been dead for a little over a year, and I had this following dream. I was giving myself a big birthday party. We met at my house, and then we were going to a Chinese restaurant. All of the people at the birthday party were Freya's best friends. And I told everybody to dress up as if we had all just stepped out of her closet. So we got into the van, and outside it looked like just a regular van, but on the inside it looked like a bordello. It was like Freya had decorated the van. And so I started driving down the street, and I looked in the rearview mirror, and I saw Freya sprawled across the backseat of my van. And she was looking very sexy, and she had this eerie grin on her face. And all the other girls squealed and giggled and screeched and twittered. And I said, okay, Freya, you have to tell me what it's like to be dead. And she said, well, you still dream. And I said, what? You still dream when you're dead? And she said, yeah, I'm dreaming you right now. Is that the best dream ever? So yes, I absolutely believe that you can encounter people who are on the other side of that veil, and that it's entirely possible that they're dreaming you, that you are part of their dream.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I know.
You can have contact with any soul, and there is no such thing as separation, you can say. You always have some contact, and it takes away the sorrow, I think, also in some way, because you still feel their presence in this reality, and also when you go to sleep. Very beautiful, very beautiful.
Yes, because after someone crosses over, all of the things that created division and separation in waking reality don't exist at all anymore. So you don't have to be careful about loving someone as much as you love them, you know, after they're dead, because you don't have to be, there's no such thing as propriety, you know, you could just love them to death, so to speak. And you realize that all of those aspects of your relationship that you might have felt created separation were culturally imposed rules. They weren't real.
Mm-hmm. 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 I feel that very much. Dorota actually tells us right now, thank you, Connie, this is amazing, and my name and my previous incarnation was Freya. How crazy is that?
Wow.
Okay, my next question from Agata is, what does it mean that the womb is the dreaming organ?
Well, the dream, as it is defined in this work, is the dream is the experience that you have when you go into potential and you bring it back into form. The womb is the organ that always carries the potential of new life, coming into form. So even after you are no longer an administrating woman who has the potential of getting pregnant, your womb is still operating as a source of that void, that great cosmic void that can bring in new ideas, new concepts, new ways of being, new perspectives, new paradigms. So we call the womb the dreaming organ.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a space of potential, you could say.
Right, right.
Okay. I think that's all of the questions. There was only one comment, I think, from Karina, where she said, wow, this frightens me. Why? She feels frightened with this knowledge. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, it is frightening, and I'll tell you, it's frightening because it's actually inviting you to step into your authentic beingness. And that feels dangerous in our cultures, especially the cultures where women are trained to be quiet, and women are trained to be the support system, but not the power. So it feels like when you first hear this information, it feels like you're being asked to kind of step out and be more visible. That's not necessarily the case, actually. You're just asked to know your own power. You don't have to act it out, because actually, if you act it out according to our culture, you may be acting inappropriately. Let me say it this way. I don't know if you guys get a lot of American movies over there.
We do. We do.
Summer, I think it was summer before last, not in 2018, but in 2017, I think. This movie came out called Wonder Woman. And everybody over here was like, oh, this is a woman's power movie. This is so great. This is so, talking about women and their women's power. And so I went to see Wonder Woman all hopeful about what I was going to see. And basically what I saw was a movie about a woman who could beat up men, It wasn't a movie from my perspective about feminine power at all, because feminine power is quiet. Feminine power is solid. Feminine power often involves a knowing that comes from such a pure silence that it is wisdom rather than just knowing. So often, people think that when you're being asked to step into your power, you're being asked to step onto a stage or to step into a spotlight or to be a man in a dress, right? That's not the case at all with dreaming power. The case with dreaming power is you're asked to know yourself so authentically that you can't be thrown off guard by anyone. That's what power is the ability to know yourself so deeply and so authentically that nothing can destroy you.
Thank you for clearing that out, because I feel like some of our viewers could have understood power in a wrong way, and that is what we need right now. That kind of power, that kind of connection to ourselves. This is why we're doing all of this in this webinar also. I think one more question appeared. How can I know if a dream was prophetic? Like, for example, I dreamed of a loved one dying. What can I do with a dream like that?
I want to tell you a quick story about one time a woman brought a dream to Dream Circle. And this was back when we were still reading our own dreams. And she had dreamed her father's death. And it was very emotional for her because her father wasn't dead. And she loved her father very much. But in this dream, she had seen him in the casket, and she had seen the color of his tie and the color of the lining of the casket. And it was an incredibly emotional experience for her to just say the dream, because she was pretty sure, like you, that she had prophesied her father's death. So we passed the stone around the circle that night, and there were 13 of us in the room. And it turned out that of those 13 women, 8 of us had dreamed about our father's death during the past 2 weeks prior to that dream circle. So the conversation changed from her father's death to the death of the patriarchy. And it changed from her prophesying something personal to all of us understanding that if we're going to survive, we have to understand this, looking at death as transformation out of an old paradigm, out of an old patriarchal system. And we have to know how to embrace it and grieve it and rebirth it, in a way. So what I would say to you is take this dream to a dream circle, you know, or share it with some other people, because often in the dream, see, what we know for sure is everybody's going to die. So if you dream that somebody's going to die, yeah, there's some level of that that's prophetic, because everybody's going to die. That just is. But mostly when we dream of death in a dream, we're talking about some sort of profound, deep, cellular, deep transformation. So what is it that's about to transform? Is it something in that person? Is it something in the relationship that you have with that person? Is it something in the, not even directly related to you or that person, but that would be represented by the relationship between you and that person in your dream story? You have to pull back and look at that dream from all of the different kinds of possibilities that it might be, rather than being too locked into fear of your own power to dream somebody's death.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. This is why we need this holistic outlook during dream circles. This is why we need dream circles.
Yes.
And a question for myself, actually, that popped in my mind now. Do you think that a leader of a dream circle needs some specific abilities, or just for women to start together a dream circle, do they need some specific abilities before they start?
Well, basically what I say in the Dream Circle Leadership pamphlet is that if you're going to work with dreaming like this, you have to be committed to understanding the dream as something more than simply a psychological experience.
Mm-hmm.
So what a dream circle leader needs to do is first and foremost commit herself to that. We are not going to talk about your psychological issues here. We're not qualified to do that, and this is not what this is about. So anytime a dream starts going too psychological in terms of interpretation, that's the only time I give myself permission to just break the energy. I just interrupt it. I say, stop now. Mm-hmm. This is not what we do with the dreaming here. If you're interested in a psychological study of the dream, go somewhere else. This is about learning what the dream weave, what the void, that cosmic soup of all potential is trying to say to the group. This is not about fixing somebody's psychological problems. That's the main challenge of changing the way you look at dreams, is getting out of this just absolutely disgusting addiction we have to me, what's wrong with me, what's broken about me, what needs fixing about me, what have I done wrong? That's the primary training that we've gotten as women, and that's the most important piece of breaking into a new way of looking at the dream. The other thing that I would say is that the dream circle leader needs to know how to listen. This is one of the side effects, like the great beneficial silver lining side effects of working in dream circle for a long time. Because when you're listening to a dream with the question in your mind, what did this woman experience in consciousness that inspired her to write that dream? What was it? So you're listening for something much deeper than the images and storyline of the dream. You're listening for what it was in consciousness that was trying to express itself through this story. This is what I call deep listening. You're listening for what's not being said. And you're not listening for, oh my God, what am I going to say? And how can I relate to this person? And how can I validate this person? And how can I validate what everybody else has said? You're not listening with any of those, social propriety rules in play. You're listening for what is the dream trying to say from the dream realm into form? What's that message? It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with the dreamer. It's about potential trying to speak through the words of this dream. So the dream circle leader has to be really skilled at doing that and really committed to deepening the skill at doing that, because the dream circle leader has to lead by example.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So when we listen to the members of the circle, we listen with our whole being, not with only our ears, but we listen with our whole being and understanding. Okay, I'm very grateful for that answer. Okay, Pavel, do we have any questions from the Facebook Live or no?
I just pasted, but there's no other questions that I can see now.
Okay.
Check again. No, there's no questions.
Okay, so I think we can finish slowly.
Okay.
We
have some information about the contest today's webinar. You can win 2 digital books of Connie Kaplan, and we have some codes, discount codes that Connie mentioned before on the ebooks that are on her website. I can show you. I will show you the screen. Suppose you can see my screen now. And in just 20 minutes, there will be a post on Facebook with that information. Just share your thoughts about this webinar, and in the comments to the post, tell us what have you learned today. And 2 most interesting comments will win the audiobook and the ebook, digital book. We're waiting for your comments till end of Friday, till midnight in European time, so it will be noon in US. I will send those informations to your email and paste it to the Facebook to make sure that you're not sure that you will find it. And this is the coupon code for the discount on the Invisible Garment site. This Gaia, it is for all the books that Connie has on her site. And this discount is for the Polish translation of the book. It is on the naya.selling.pl site. When you can use that code to buy a Polish version of this book. Okay, I will also ask you for your comments after this webinar. That was, I think, a nice journey to the...
Yes, we also wanted to share Connie's links, yes, to her website, turtledreamers.com, also the invisiblegarment.com. And on both those sites, you can buy Connie's books. On the Turtle Dreamers, you can join the Dream Circle. Is there anything else, Connie, that you would like to say?
No, other than just feel free to wander around on both of those websites. There's lots of free stuff and lots of opportunities to, explore this work. There is another level of this work that the Invisible Garment covers that helps you identify even more deeply the power of your natal astrology chart in both your waking life and your dreaming life. So there's lots to learn there. So have fun.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful, and I see that many people are also fascinated with this topic and grateful for this webinar. So I'm very excited for this new beginning and this knowledge growing in Poland. And thank you for everything, for just being.
Thank you. This has been really, really fun, and I really hope to hear from a lot of you directly.
For sure. Pavel, now you want to speak?
Yes. Yes. I want to thank you also for this webinar. And maybe we can see Connie again, maybe soon or sooner or later. We have more knowledge to share. But we'll, of course, we're starting with another webinars on the English website, Mind, Body, Spirit. But in next month, it will be some kind of experiment that will be screening of the emotion movie. Maybe maybe some of us saw this movie. This is the movie with interviews with many people that see the connection between the emotions and our physical health, how the emotions affects our physical health. And it will be free online screening, so everybody could see this movie just for free on our website. That will be on the end of the October, maybe on the beginning of the November. We will tell you everything about this movie on our mailings and website, so stay tuned with us. And that's the information that I want to share with you. Thank you again, Connie. Thank you, Victoria. And see you again.
Great.
Maybe in the dreams.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Have a good day or good night.
What I have found is that 90% of all the pain that we experience is due to trapped emotions, to emotional baggage. I think that this is really the elephant in the living room in Western medicine that we are missing completely.
Our trapped emotions and traumas that we hold in our nervous system are the source of everything that ails us.
What we're finding is that there are these protective mechanisms that help us to overcome and survive these experiences. Actually take these experiences and suppress them, not just in our mind, but in our body.
It's a scientific fact that the chemicals of stress dysregulate our genes that create disease. It's a fact.
And we look for answers, and the problem is that the answers aren't out in our world, they're inside us.
We are not made wrong. We're not broken. We're not missing anything. Every so-called problem of the body is a portal.
Because if you go down through the layers of those emotions, underneath at the very bottom is your true nature, is your peaceful self, your joyous, your playful, your connected self.
We've got to get back to the understanding of the power of the human body to heal itself.
I know this sounds so simple, but if you do it, you will see huge transformation begin to take place in your life.
Imagine living in a world where everyone is actually manifesting from their heart into the world their perfect creation that is inside each of them. That's where we're going.